When I was a teenager, I hated the piano and I hated the keyboard. And there was one day in particular that I was forced to play the keyboard. And I hated that. And I hated my friends for putting me on the instrument. And I felt embarrassed and I felt stupid. And I wanted to be behind the drum kit. Right? Fast forward 10 years and here I am on a channel called UtK the Keyboard with this intense passion for music and for the keyboard. So much so, I love the keyboard so much that I created an entire YouTube channel, an entire business and brand around it, right? UtK the Keyboard. Because I love the keyboard. It is the most amazing instrument and I love teaching people the keyboard and helping people to unlock it and unlock the creative potential within, right? Because that's the power of the keyboard. It's not just another instrument. Like, it's so much more than just an instrument. There is so much that you can do with the keyboard, right? But I didn't know that as a teenager. I was just another, video game addicted teenager, and I was literally addicted to MMORPGs. I love playing games like any teenage boy, and I didn't practice music. I wasn't good at music. I wasn't naturally good at music, and I played the drums. That was my instrument. I was a drummer. I loved the drums. I started learning the drums when I was like 8, and that was the instrument that I really connected with, and I loved playing the drums. When I was 12, I started learning the piano, and I learned the piano because it was, we had the piano in the household, and there was one tune that I heard that it was so beautiful. I'm like, I need to learn this. But as a teenage boy, I was a little bit embarrassed by that, right? I learned the piano more as this kind of side quest. It was this, I had piano lessons on Wednesdays, and I would, go and see my teacher with these tunes that I wanted to learn to play these songs, and I took them to my piano teacher, the sheet music, and we learned these songs. But I wasn't that interested because my teacher, he it was kind of like classical. He made me learn to read the sheet music, which I didn't find very fun or exciting. And I took grade 1 lessons or whatever, and I wasn't really connecting with music through that. It was like, it felt like school. It felt like going to school. Whereas the drums did not feel like going to school. You know what I mean? The drums was so cool. And my drum teacher, his name was Tala. He was just the coolest guy. And I remember feeling so excited to go to my drum lessons to see Tala. And he was like teaching me jazz drums. And you know what he said? He said that if you can play jazz drums, you can play anything on the drums. And I just love that kind of attitude to music. Through the drums, music felt like this limitless thing, whereas through the piano, music felt like this limited thing, right? And I love my teacher, William. Like, I have a lot to be thankful for. William was my piano teacher, but he didn't see the piano for what it truly was, for the potential of the piano. And neither did I as a result, right? I was his student. And of course, I loved him because he recognized that all I wanted to do with the piano was to learn these songs that I would come to him with, right? The sheet music. They were kind of like theme tune songs for like my favorite video games and things like this. And, I would learn those and play those on the weekends, but I never practiced the piano. The piano was lame. I was embarrassed. I didn't tell people I played the piano. Only my family and my friends kind of knew that I played the piano. Of course, this all ended when my friends, we all decided to make a band together. And I could play the drums and the piano, whereas my friend Toby could only play the drums. So what happened was he could only be behind the drum kit. So where did that leave me? That left me to the keyboard. And so I had to go on the keyboard. I didn't get a choice in the matter. The keyboard chose me. I didn't choose the keyboard. I didn't want to play the keyboard. I didn't want to play the piano. I didn't want to be a pianist. I didn't want to be a keyboard player. It chose me. It was almost like this instrument that was like, too bad, man. You're a keyboard player now. Come, join us. And at the time, I looked at this keyboard, and this is in the the band practice room at school, at high school, and I looked at it, and it was this kind of like plastic, kind of lame thing that was just sitting there on a stand, and I was like, but the drums, I was like, oh, that's cool. The drums makes perfect sense. You have a stick, you hit it there, and it makes a sound. The keyboard, well, it doesn't make sense. It's like, the piano kind of makes sense. I can sit there with my sheet music and play the piano, play these songs. But the keyboard, I guess I'll play it. So I sat there and, I played it because I could at least play it. But that was like more than 10 years ago now. And, well, I am ever so grateful that the keyboard chose me. And really, it was the beginning of an epic journey. It really was. The keyboard at that time was a limited thing. Like I was saying, the piano and the keyboard, it was limited. I couldn't see beyond the instrument. You know what I mean? I couldn't see beyond the instrument. But I went on a journey. I went on a journey with the keyboard. It was a year later that I started composing my own solo piano music. So I was really starting to connect with the piano. And then it was around the same time that I started playing synth bass, right? Bass on a synthesizer with my band Sheep. And then, I was performing on stages and doing all this crazy stuff, playing different sounds with the keyboard. And then it was another year later that I quit music entirely, but felt like I wasn't I felt depressed. It was the first time I ever experienced depression. It was because I quit music. I moved to another place, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I need music. Well, guess what? I couldn't go ahead and find a drum kit anywhere, but I found a piano in a local church that I was able to play and start composing music again. And then it was a year later that I started busking as a pianist, as a keyboard. I took my keyboard out there on the Queenstown waterfront. I started busking my original piano music, and I was able to connect with people because it was music that I composed. It was a way that I could actually express ideas and share those ideas with other people. Well, I couldn't really do that on the drums. And it was a year later that I started producing my own music, making content, making YouTube content. And then, the story goes on. I've been, performing and things like this. And what this journey did was at each stage, I realized the ultimate power of the keyboard. It's the most powerful instrument. I don't say that lightly. Like, of course, I'm probably a little bit biased to the instrument because it's my main instrument. Secretly, I'm a drummer. Still, don't tell anyone. But it's really, the journey that I've walked with the keyboard is so profound. And there's a reason why I created Unlock the Keyboard. It's because I know its power. I know what it can do and what it can be for your life. Honestly, it's like literally, like it's more than just an instrument, right? The drums, look, every instrument is amazing in its own right, but the drums, you can't, like if I had chosen the drums as my main instrument, I wouldn't have become a composer, right? I wouldn't have become a music producer. I would be limited in what I can do as a performer. There wouldn't be as many opportunities for me as a musician, as a professional musician. And yeah, that's saying nothing against the drums. Look, I love the drums, but what I'm saying here is that the keyboard is way more than just an instrument. And I'm so glad that the keyboard chose me, because there is just limitless potential. And I'm making this video to explain this to you. That's what Unlock the Keyboard is. I'm not just here teaching the piano. I'm teaching you a musical path. I'm teaching you to become a musician and a creative musician. Like, the purpose of these videos is not to just play the piano. Of course, you'll be able to play the piano and you will be able to play your favorite songs on the piano, but it's about way more than that, because with the keyboard, you can produce music, you can compose music, you can access infinite sounds. I'm not even joking when I say that, by the way. Infinite sounds. There's no limit to the sounds that you can play on the keyboard. Truly, like, take my word for it. Just believe me. That is absolutely true. A true fact right there. Limitless. Okay? I'm not going to explain why in this video, but essentially the keyboard is more than just an instrument. It's a master key. It's a master key. And it is literally, it opens the most doors in the world of music. Everyone, like, seriously, pro producers use the keyboard. Pro composers use the keyboard. Even like a violin player, if a violin player wants to produce himself, he needs a keyboard to, like, you know, play different string parts and arrangements. And it's, trust me, take my word for it, it's the ultimate instrument. And that's why I'm here with Unlock the Keyboard. And so hopefully the keyboard chose you as well. If it didn't choose you, that's okay. You can still choose the keyboard, and I'm here for that. Okay, I'm here for you. Because, I mean, you're here, right? You're here, so that you chose the keyboard or the keyboard chose you. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're here, and I'm here for you. Okay, so definitely, if you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel and check out Unlock the Keyboard Pro if you're interested in a full system for actually learning this thing. I turned it into a game. I love this thing so much that I turned it into a game. So you can start playing the game below. There'll be a link. But yeah, that's essentially it for this video. Let me know what you think of this kind of video. I love making videos. I love sharing my love and passion for the keyboard, and I'm doing a lot of teaching here. Like, I teach tutorials, and I teach different practical things that you can actually do on the keyboard. I teach practice, mindset, stuff like that. But let me know what you think of this kind of more chill video where I can just tell a story and talk about musical things. Let me know. I'm keen to make them. Okay, great. That's it for this one. See you later. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.